Have you got a recording of it?
Yeah. This is a recording. No. Yeah, I actually told some friends that I was going to be giving a speech on my mother's 60th, and they said, just download something from Google. And, not just one person, it was about 5 or 6. And I tried to explain to them that it's not really would fit my mother to download a speech at someone's 60th birthday, you know. A speech for your mother at your 60th birthday on Google, you know, to try and download something for this special person on her birthday. I don't think a normal speech that you download from Google would suffice. So fortunately you stuck with just me coming up with this, and I'll do the best I can. Another funny thing was when I went shopping as well. I didn't know what to buy, and of course you're walking through the shopping malls, and something drew me into a shoe shop. And I said to the lady, I said, look, my mother's turning 60 and it's her birthday, and I don't know what to buy. So she showed me a couple of things, this might suit a 60-year-old. And I don't think you know my mother. You'll understand that will not suit her. Maybe something more along those lines. But yeah, of course, shoes are ridiculous to buy something. I don't know what I was thinking. If nobody knows, I was actually brought up quite spoilt because my mother grew up in a family with only three daughters. So her first child was also a daughter, was Elise. So there was another girl, and I was the first son. So of course I was spoiled rotten as a child. But as a child, you kind of try to push things, because you don't compare yourself to others, you compare one day to the next. So on this day, yesterday I was spoiled, but let's see how much more I can be spoiled today. So I would try and push things a little bit, but I knew that my mother had, a little bit of a temper, so I would always make sure that I was slightly between her and the front door, because I knew that right outside there was a tree, I could say whatever I wanted as long as I knew that I had 8 seconds, all right? But I had 2 seconds to make it out the door, another 2 seconds to the tree, but then I needed that 3 seconds to be out of arm length, while she's trying to get me down. But no, that was never that bad, but what I do remember was thinking that when she came up and I was at the tree, no matter what was said, there was no ways that you get down from the tree. Just don't get down from the tree. Stay up in the tree. No matter what is said to entice you down, you stay up there.
Tree story.
Yeah.
Very enticing.
Yeah. And it was actually, I was 18 years old, and I got involved in a little bit of petty vandalism. And me and my good friend Raymond, we realized that we had gone a little bit too far, and that we were now in trouble with the wrong people. So we didn't know what to do, and we
Go
were
to the tree.
Well, I thought of that, but so I said, look, the only thing to do here, because there were police involved, there were security services involved, and all sort of thing, and I hadn't realized that the one guy who had seen me in the police station, we had tried to escape, and he had seen me, but he had been in high school with me, and it was New Year's, so I wasn't thinking straight. And so I said to the guy, I said, listen, the only way we can pull this off, for us to not, get into too much trouble, we get these two involved, especially her. Her involved. Yeah. So, because they came to the beach, they were looking for me at the beach, and it got pretty hectic. But I said, look, get them involved. They'll sort it out. I'll go down to Cape Town for a while, for like a month, And it was quite funny because the story came back that there was a guy that wanted names, and I told them, the friends that had been with me, that had caused most of the trouble. Of course, most of it wasn't me. I was just observing. No, these the security services of this place. The main guy, he was a heavy guy with a big beard, Afrikaans guy, really tough, sort of really tough. Well, he thought he was until he had met my mum. Yeah, because he was a tough guy and he wanted names. He wanted to take me down, and Mum got onto the phone to this guy and said, basically said, listen, I will, sort things out. It was something like 1,300 rand to sort out. We will get that sorted out. But there's no way you getting my son or any of his friends. It's going to get sorted out, and this guy was fine from then on. He realized that's too much. It's awesome. But aside from the fiery side, there's also a deeply compassionate side that I'm sure that all of you know about. One story that I remember in particular was I'd heard about a guy who had been paralyzed. He was a quadriplegic, and he had been left in a hospital for months actually, and his bed sores were so bad that they'd grown. And when you're a quadriplegic, you have to be turned every 2 hours, from after the accident. And this kind of got to me a little bit, and I told Mum about it because it was bugging me. And I saw her probably 2 weeks later because I was studying in Durban, and I came back and she said, and now this is somebody that she had never met or she'd only heard about through me. And she told me that she had been, after I told her about this guy, she had been depressed for 3 days, and eventually she woke up one morning and she knew that she just had to go and visit him. And she went and visited him, and she got a whole lot of stuff organized for him, a computer and some internet that he could work on, and that actually got his arms moving, so now he can do a lot more stuff. And I never actually told you that, Mum, but it was actually, he had a beautiful sister that actually I was interested in. That was actually my sort of whole take on the deal, but thank you for doing that for me. It was really, really, right. Yeah, it was, I wrote on the car on the way here, there's something I learned from my dad. Scribbled a couple of notes. He's probably one of the only people in the world that you'll hear of. Of course, he'll deny it. But you can actually read a book while driving a car. That was through the movie, but still. So the couple of things I learned from my dad, and poor Mum had to live with all of this, and coming from a lot more conservative family, and then meeting this guy who comes from a family of eccentrics and total lunatics. It was actually quite a it was probably quite a shock for her, but I think she's done very well.
So you are eccentric.
In the middle.
No, he's nothing compared to the rest. They're crazy. They really are. Another thing that I remember is when I started working after, I messed around for a couple of years and then I studied, and then when I actually finally had to start working, I saw how much work that I was doing, or how much I could actually do, physically, and how much my friends or people my age were doing. And I compared it to how much I remembered, my parents on the cucumber farm and then setting up the Herbalife, their actual work ethic. And I realized something, that these two aren't actually, I think they're from a different planet, really. They aren't quite human, they have a different sort of setup to the rest of us, and they are really, really hard workers, and it was really, well, it's impossible for me to even try and come close. So that really, really interested me. And just the last thing, about 3 years ago, I fell ill with a disease that nobody knew what it was. The top specialists in the world, not in the world, in the country, had no clue, and nobody knew. And I was speaking to a therapist friend of mine, and she said, look, can you think of a way out of this? My parents were living overseas at the time, and I said, no, I can't think of a way out. We've tried a lot of things and nothing's working. And then I remember saying to her, I said, wait, there is one way out, is I can phone my mum and she can come back and she can come and help me. And she did. I phoned her that day, and she was back in the country the very next day, and she came and helped me. And I still remember, because things just went from bad to worse really, and nobody knew, and it was really scary. I still remember the words she said to me. She says, if she has to take me to the end of the earth, if she has to go to the end of the earth that she has, it doesn't matter, but she will get me better. And yeah. Well, I found that, and it all worked out. And I think the hardest thing for me at the time was actually seeing, you know, what I put you through, you know. Thanks for being such a remarkable woman, and not only sort of compassionate and loving, but you know, really strong-willed and also a real bundle of fun. Thank you for all of that.